This is Gareth Bott, Level 3 Extended Diploma in Sport and Exercise Science on the 8th of December at 7 p.m. The responsibilities of a coach enables them to consider any potential risks and also to understand the position of responsibility they are held in, either by the athletes or the parents they are asked to coach. Types of responsibilities include professional behaviour, health and safety, equal opportunities and knowledge of the coaching environment. Coaching is now considered a profession, so needs to be measured and assessed to make sure it is still up to a high standard and that's all involved with benefiting from the coaching sessions. Because of this, coaches are expected to follow a code of practice. This is where a collection of rules/standards and other information relating to the practice and procedures are followed. The coach must act in an appropriate manner in all situations and circumstances. They must put in place barriers of authority, being correct at all times and have an appropriate relationship with their students/athletes. Professional behaviour is needed to protect the coach and their students and to make sure that the sessions provided by the coach are safe, fun and progressive to help them gain the most out of them. A coach should always aim to constantly be improving and keeping up to date their coaching ability. Ways in which coaches can do this could be to attend seminars and workshops put on by the best coaches in the field to help develop their coaching style to make it a better experience for your students/athletes during your sessions. Another way in which to help develop/upkeep their coaching level would be to do higher grade qualification courses. For example, if you were an FA Level 1 coach, you could decide to do the FA Level 2 coaching course, which will further develop your knowledge and help their coaching sessions become more effective. This is needed because there may be changes in regulations which, if a coach doesn't facilitate for, will be detrimental to the athletes and in extreme circumstances may even lead to the loss of their role as a coach. Also, as a coach, they wouldn't want to become stagnant or ossified as a coach, as if they were to continually do the same thing in every session, they would become tedious and ineffective for the athletes. As a coach, they need to make sure that everything is safe before, during and after every session. To do so, they will need to check for facilities, sport and equipment to make sure that the student and the coach are safe at all times. The coach can do this by completing a risk assessment where they evaluate all the possible risks that could happen during the session and put measures in place to minimise, if not eliminate, the potential risks from occurring. The coach needs to do this to ensure the safety of participants and the coach themselves so they can all enjoy the session and develop as athletes without having to worry about getting an injury. A coach needs to provide an environment in which everyone is involved with the same amount of opportunities to develop and learn, no matter what race or gender the athletes may be. This is needed because if a coach was seen to not being equal to all participants, they may be seen as a racist or sexist, which will give the coach a bad image and would most likely be sacked from their coaching role because of a negative image associated with being branded as sexist or a racist. So the 40 coaches are Michael Dangerfield, PE teacher, Warren Gatlin, the Wales rugby head coach, Ian Long, the Hornets rugby Colts coach, and Joe Edwards, Chelsea under-18 youth team manager. So for Michael Dangerfield, as a PE teacher, his main priority out of the 4 would be to give equal opportunities to all of the students to make sure every student / athlete he encounters are given the same chances to perform and develop as athletes, as that is all what school is about, in developing the knowledge and abilities of students. Second, I put professional behaviour because as a PE teacher he needs to protect himself at all times to make sure that he is not doing anything wrong, as in his job role as a teacher in the school is very sensitive. It's a very sensitive situation, and if anything was to occur, it could blow up quite big and could result in him losing his job and not being able to work with children ever again. Third, I put health and safety because Being a PE teacher, he's going to have to run sessions for a lot of students, and he's got to make sure that everyone is safe and secure from any sort of potential risks, while also making sure that they all enjoy themselves. So as a PE teacher, even though you will need some knowledge of the coaching environment, it becomes under the other factors, because he just needs to teach the students the basic principles of all sports to make sure that they understand and they can perform the sports at a basic level, but doesn't need to try and excel them to any high standard of ability. So for Warren Gatlin, the Welsh Rugby Union head coach, knowledge of the coaching environment would actually be the number one priority out of the four, instead of last, like Michael Dangerfield, the PE teacher, because as an elite level coach, all he wants to do and all he is there to do is to get results for the Welsh national rugby team. So he needs to have knowledge of coaching environments and make sure that he can provide the best standard of coaching to get to the best standard of performance out of his elite players to give them the best chance of winning the match and gaining success. So second for Warren Gatlin, I would put health and safety second, as rugby could become potentially quite a dangerous sport, because such situations such as scrums and line-outs, if they were to go wrong, it could end very badly for the athlete involved. So he needs to make sure that his athletes understand what could go wrong and how to make sure it doesn't go wrong, so during the game they are as safe as possible, so they can play a high standard of rugby for everyone to enjoy and minimise the risks of any sort of detrimental injury occurring. So third, I put professional behaviour for him, because as a high standard elite level coach, he is going to be quite under the spotlight, so if he doesn't act professional, then he may be sensationalised and publicised as a negative image for the Welsh national team, and which could, if it was to occur, the WRU may not see it as a plausible way to go forward to maintain their relationship as Warren Gatlin as the head coach, because of the negative image that may have occurred to be about him. And now I put equal opportunities last instead of first, like the PE teacher Michael Dangerfield, because as an international elite level coach, all he is there to do is to get results. So it doesn't matter about being equal opportunities to all the rugby players in Wales, because all he wants to do and all he's there to do is pick the best of the best of that sport in positions to help maximise their chances of success. So now, if we compare Warren Gatlin to Ian Long, the Hornets Rugby coach rugby, his number one priority would be health and safety, as he wants to maintain and make sure that all his athletes are safe, including me, during performances. So he needs to make sure that they understand how to do everything right, and to make sure that they don't get themselves into any harmful situations during performances. So as an under-18s coach, he would be second. I would put equal opportunity second for him, as because it is not completely competitive and it's not all about results at that level, he wants to make sure that everyone has a game and everyone still has a chance to develop as a league that his team are actually in is called the South Gloucestershire Development League. So it's all about development of the players and not the results. So he needs to make sure that everyone has the same fair chance to do so, unlike Warren Gatlin, who is there just to get results. So I put knowledge of coaching environment third, because he needs to know his stuff to make sure he can help develop the players, because even though it's not all about results at that age of players, so 18, 17, 16 years old, they still want to be improving and already have that basic knowledge of rugby throughout their previous rugby career through the junior and youth ranks. So he needs to have a fair bit of knowledge to help continue their development if they want to. So I've put professional behaviour last, because as a non-elite youth coach, he is not under any sort of spotlight or media attention, so it's not essential for him to be acting professional all the time, and they may want to share a bit of banter with the lads from the rugby team, so he doesn't need to act professional, but he still needs to have a relative amount of professional behaviour, because he doesn't want to do anything stupid which could result in him losing his job. And now finally on to Joe Edwards, the Chelsea under-18 youth team manager. His number one would be knowledge of coaching environment, because as a youth team manager for an elite level club, he wants to help develop and nurture the young talent in the country to an elite level. So he needs to know his stuff to help the young talented youth they have in their ranks reach their full potential and maybe even gain a first team place in that side. So second, I put equal opportunities for him, as even though he's still at an elite level side, it is still youth, so he still needs to give all the players there an equal amount of time to play, so everyone is still enjoying themselves. So I put professional behaviour third, because even though he's not going to be in the media or in the public eye because he's only at youth level, he is still at a professional club, so he still needs to act professional, because anything he may do could reflect badly on the club, and if that was to occur, it could result in him losing his job. So I put health and safety, unlike Ian Long, who is not likely to lose his job. He does something a bit socially unacceptable, shall we say. So carrying on, I put health and safety last, because even though it's still an important factor, as he needs to make sure his players are safe, I just felt that the other factors are more important, because the level of club he is at and the level and age he is working with. There may be times when participants or performers arrive to a session with certain problems. Likewise, situations may arise within your sessions which require specific characteristics to help you deal and solve the situation. Types of characteristics include patience, being goal-focused, and being consistent. Patience is the ability to wait a period of time to achieve a goal. This will be needed for a coach when an athlete returns from an injury, so cannot expect them to be at the same level of ability than where they were at when they got injured, so it requires the patience to help assist the performer back into full fitness and return back to the ability level they were previously at. Patience is needed / makes them a better coach, because it would make the athlete feel more comfortable in the coaching environment, because they aren't being rushed or pressured during the session and can take their own time in grasping the objective of the activity / session. Being goal focused as a coach is where everything you do / plan into a session is all because you want to achieve an aim / target at the end of it. A sporting example of this would be an elite manager such as Roy Hodgson, as his only aim / goal is to win matches / tournaments, as his job is to pick the elite football players eligible to play for the England national team and implementing the best game strategy to maximise their chance of success. This is needed / makes them better as a coach, because it shows ambition of the coach, which would be good at an elite level, as a professional club / team wouldn't want a coach who doesn't aspire to achieve, because if they don't aspire to do so, how are they supposed to expect their players to do so as well? Resulting in a lesser chance of success, because no one will really be motivated to achieve success, so aren't motivated to perform well. Also, this would be good for a non-elite coach being goal focused, because it might be more motivating for the athletes, as they will have a clear vision of what they are working towards, so they'll be more motivated to complete the sessions as they know what they're doing. Being consistent as a coach means maintaining the same standard of coaching over a prolonged period of time. An example of this would be Arsene Wenger and his Invincible side during the 2003 to 2004 Barclays Premier League season, where they managed to keep a high standard of coaching over the whole season, which meant that the team were able to keep a high standard of consistent performances, which resulted in the side going unbeaten for the whole 38 games. which is needed / makes the coach better, because it means that there are no shocks and the athletes know what sort of standard to expect from a session. Because if they didn't know whether the session was going to be good or not, they would probably not bother turning up, because why would they want to turn up to waste their time in a poor standard of session? So they wouldn't bother turning up because they could do something more productive or more relaxing instead. Alright, so the 4 coaches here are Michael Dangerfield, a PE teacher at World Community School, Jack Gadd, an attacks coach for the National Division 3 Southside Hornets, Tony Minicello, Jessica Rennes's coach, and Steve Hillman, the 2013 Disabled Coach of the Year. For Michael Dangerfield, I say the most important characteristic out of the 3 would be patience, because as a teacher, he's going to get students of all abilities coming to his lessons, coming to the school, so he needs to be patient to understand that not everyone's going to be at the same ability, and he might need to work a bit more with a few students to make sure they reach the same standard. And his second, I rated him for goal focus. Quick change, I rated him second in consistency as his most important thing. Because as a PE teacher, he needs to make sure he gives the same standard of teaching as high as possible to all the students, to make sure that he's professional and equal opportunities. Now, for Jack Gadd, I rated him number 1 for consistency, because at that level of coaching, he doesn't want to be dropping the standard of coaching, because he needs to maintain the high level of rugby being played. And then second, I rated him goal focused, because he wants, as the club wants to improve as a club and continue the uprising that they are currently witnessing, and keep it moving and keep the high standard going. Now, as a elite level coach, or semi-elite level coach, he doesn't need to be patient, as he is there to help the team get results. So he doesn't need to be patient, as he expects a high standard of rugby being played, so he doesn't need to wait for anyone, which is different compared to the PE teacher, as because he is expecting that high elite level of performance, instead of having to wait for everyone to help make sure everyone is at the same standard. Because everyone is already at that same standard, he can focus on improving the whole team instead of making sure they're just at the same level. Instead, he can just focus on making sure there's a high level of performance from the whole squad during the matches. Now for Tony Minicello, as Jessica Rennes's coach, he's going to, because he has an elite level athlete he is coaching, the main thing he'll want is to be goal focused and for her to win medals, as she is the current reigning Olympic champion. Also, he wants to be consistent, as he needs to maintain a high level of standard of coaching to make sure that Jessica Rennes will continue to compete and perform at the high level she is currently performing at. So it's the same as Jack. He doesn't need to be patient unless she was coming back from an injury, as what he is there to do is help her achieve that high level of performance. Now, Steve Hillman, the 2013 Disabled Coach of the Year, I rated him number 1 for consistency, as he wants to be able to perform the same standard of sessions for everyone that he works with, and clearly he shows this, because it would have been a contributing factor for him receiving the 2013 Disabled Coach of the Year award. And also he'll have to be patient as well, because he's working with people with disabilities, so the athletes he works with aren't going to be as high of a standard or at the same level as an able-bodied person would be. So he needs the patience to make sure that the athletes still enjoy and still gain from the session. So which means makes being goal focused for last in his importance scale, because he is more about helping the athletes enjoy themselves and develop as players, instead of actually getting completing goals and targets. So the difference between Tony Minicello compared to the likes of to the other two, Michael Dangerfield and Steve Hillman, is that they are coaching at a high standard of their sport, so they will be more focused about being goal focused and consistent. Consistency is needed throughout coaching, but because they're at that high standard, they're more focused. They will need to focus more on being goal focused than being patient, because they want to achieve the high standard of performance to help the team and their athletes gain success in their sport. Whereas the other two are there to help just develop and nurture the abilities of their athletes that they encounter. So their main focus will be being patient and being consistent in their sessions. Successful coaches will have qualities that allow them to develop and improve their teams and players. Types of qualities include knowledge of skills, knowledge of rules/laws, understanding of mental needs, and understanding of physical needs. Coaches need knowledge of skills because if they understand the skills, they will be able to recognise and expose the opponent's weaknesses. This will be beneficial for the team because it will mean they will understand what the team needs to do to increase the chances of them winning. The coach will understand what the team needs to do to increase the chances of them winning. The coach will be able to do this by implementing tactics to help exploit the weaknesses the coach has identified to help increase the chances of success if the team was to successfully perform the tactics set up by the coach. Another thing a coach would be able to do if they had a good knowledge of the skills involved in the sport would be that they would be able to efficiently help the athletes develop their abilities and help improve their performances on a consistent and regular basis. A coach could develop their knowledge of the skills in their sport by undergoing a qualification course to help refresh and update their knowledge to pass on to the athletes. Also, they could work with other coaches to get another view on how they feel. It's the best way to coach and could integrate some of the techniques into their own sessions. Knowledge of the skills is needed because it allows the coach to help the athletes improve and develop their abilities to help them better at the sport. Also, it allows them to be able to derive the best tactics to implement to help the chances of their team winning the match and making it more enjoyable for the athletes because they are experiencing success. Coaches need to constantly be refreshing and updating their knowledge of the laws in their sport, because if any of the laws were to change, the coach might have to change the way they are coaching a technique, for instance scrums in rugby, and if they didn't, then they would be teaching the wrong technique, which could be actually harmful to the athletes, as that is why most of the rules involved sport are put in place to help maintain the safety of the athletes. A coach would also have to adhere to and implement regulations on kit and equipment. They will have to adhere to regulations of kit such as shin pads in football because they were made mandatory, because if they weren't worn it would increase the chance of an injury occurring to the area if it was to get caught by a sliding tackle. Knowledge of the rules can be developed by attending mandatory training programs, attending seminars and workshops. This will provide the coach with the latest rules and guidelines for their sport and the best way to make sure that they happen. Knowledge of laws are needed because if the coach didn't have knowledge about the laws and regulations of their sport, it would put the athlete's safety at risk, as they would be competing in the sport in the way they wouldn't be competing in the sport in the way in which it has been made safest for them through the rules made by the national governing bodies. For a coach to understand physical needs, they would have to lead a comprehensive warm-up and warm-down to cater for the physiological demands of the body so that they can meet the demands of the exercise. Also, the coach must cover the health and safety aspects of the session by carrying out safety checks before, during and after the session and being first aid qualified to minimise the chance of a physical injury occurring, or being able to deal with one if one was to occur for an athlete. This is needed because if a coach wasn't to understand the physical needs of the athletes, he wouldn't be able to adapt/differentiate the sessions to make sure everyone can gain from the sessions. Being able to understand mental needs is needed because a coach needs to understand that different people will be in different state of mind, so they will react differently in different situations. If a coach didn't understand this, then they may push an athlete too hard, which will result in a negative reaction, having a detrimental effect on their development and performance. This is why a coach needs to adopt an empathetic approach to to their coaching style so that they minimise the chance of offending an athlete and making sure it's as enjoyable as possible. Alright. So my coaches are Michael Dangerfield, a county football coach for Western St John's, Jack Gadd, a National Division 3 rugby coach for Hornets RFC, Peter Moores, the current England cricket coach, and Mike Hayes, a wheelchair basketball coach. So for Michael Dangerfield, the most important of these qualities would be knowledge of the rules and laws, because he needs to be able to understand the rules of the game so he can make sure that his team are abiding by them. Second, I put him for understanding of physical needs, as because all his athletes would need to be able to cater for all the athletes and make sure that they are all physically prepared for the sport. Third, I put him knowledge of skills, as he needs to understand and be able to help improve the performers, and needs to be able to know how to do the skills themselves so he can actually teach his athletes how to improve and how to help increase the chance of success for them. Fourth, I put understanding of mental needs, as a county football standard team, they should all be expected to play at a high standard of football, so probably would understand if they're not playing their own weight, but they are going to get a bit of a rollicking. So for Jack Gadd, I also put knowledge of rules and laws for number one, because as a rugby, it can be quite a dangerous sport if not played in a proper manner, so he needs to make sure that his team are abiding by those rules and laws to make sure that the sport is being completed safely and at a high standard. So for second, I put knowledge of skills, because he needs to maintain a high standard of rugby, as they're a national league side, so he needs to have a good knowledge of the skills to be able to make sure that his athletes can compete at a higher standard to help increase their chances of success. For third, I put understanding of physical needs, because rugby is quite a strenuous sport. He needs to understand that there are going to be quite a few knocks after games, so he needs to be able to cater for those to make sure that the sessions close to the games are not very strenuous, so they can recover in time for the games. And I also put understanding mental needs fourth, just like for the county football coach, as because they're a national division standard side, they got to pull their own weight, otherwise then they're not going to maintain that high standard of rugby and they will fall down the league tables. So for Peter Moores, I put him as knowledge of skills number one, because as an elite coach, as an England national elite coach, all he wants to do is get the best out of his players to increase the chance of success, as it is the best of the best at international level. So his main priority is to win matches, so he needs to have a good knowledge of skills to make sure he can make sure the athletes he picks for his team is performing at the highest possible standard they can to increase the chances of them winning. So I put knowledge of rules and laws second, because he needs to understand the rules and laws so we can try and figure out the best way to implement a game strategy to win with staying inside and abiding by the rules and laws of the game. I put understanding of physical needs third, just because he needs to be able to make sure that he's not overloading the athletes so they can still maintain their high standard performance. And I put understanding mental needs last again for Peter Moores, because as an elite international level coach, he is all about results, so the players also need to understand that if they're not playing their own way, they're going to lose their spot and they're going to get a bit of a rock in. For Mike Hayes, I rated understanding of physical needs first, because as a wheelchair basketball coach, he needs to understand the physical needs of the wheelchair bound athletes and cater the sessions for them to make it enjoyable for them. And I put second, understanding mental needs, because if the athletes he's working with might be new to being bound to a wheelchair or being in a wheelchair. He needs to understand that their mental state might be a bit fragile, so he needs to make sure that he encourages them and make sure that they enjoy the session. And I put knowledge of skills third because as it's not an elite level, it's more about enjoyment, so he doesn't need to really focus on the precise fine elite skills that would make the athletes the best in the business, which leads to me putting knowledge of rules and laws last because it's all about enjoyment at his level, at the level he is coaching at. So it's all about getting people involved and getting people enjoyed, unlike the national Div 3 in England international coaches. They are all about results. So instead of that, Mike Hayes is all about enjoyment, so he doesn't really need to know the rules and laws because it's all just about enjoyment, even though he still needs to know a few just to make sure that all the athletes are safe. Roles of a coach. A role is the specific job allocated to the person within the sports team / setup. Types of roles include an educator, manager, trainer, and role model. An educator will be about educating the athletes' knowledge of the skills / techniques and tactics of their sport. At a young age, they will also encourage to increase their social awareness, learn to cope with losing and winning, and develop self-confidence. They will be able to adapt their coaching sessions / styles to cater for all abilities, so every athlete is challenged and will gain from their session. To confirm that is coaching people at a young age, not the coaches being at a young age themselves. Educators are needed because they help develop and guide an athlete to have a greater understanding of the sport, so they actually understand what they are doing when performing / and giving them a higher chance of successfully completing the skill / technique they are trying to perform. A manager is someone who makes all the decisions about how the team is going to play, such as the tactics and the formation. As a manager, the main reason is for doing whatever they do is to get results. A manager is needed to provide the team with a clear structure and game plan on how they're going to play, and have a clear vision / goal to work towards, to make sure that everyone shares the same vision and can all work towards the goal instead of them all having different goals, so they wouldn't be working together as an effective team. Trainers help develop the athlete's skills and techniques to improve their ability, ready to be implemented on game day. A trainer's job will be reviewed on the development / maintenance of the player's ability, and won't be based on the actual results during actual performances, even though the two components are linked, so would be a contributing factor to showing how well the trainer is actually doing in their role. A trainer will need good knowledge of anatomy and physiology, as they will be expected to design and implement training programs to help improve the athlete's ability. Trainers are needed because it allows them to have a more specialist knowledge in certain aspects, such as strength and conditioning coaches and attack coaches you get in rugby teams, to help further develop or maintain a high standard of a skill, so other roles such as a manager can focus on other aspects of the teams, such as tactics. A role model is someone who can be looked up to by the performer as someone to either aspire towards or provide motivation for the athletes to continue to improve and reach their full potential. A coach needs to be a good role model, as they need to not just teach the athlete how to perform during the sport, but also how to conduct themselves before, during and after participation. Another thing is, it can also help encourage the performer and boost their confidence. So now, my four coaches are Julie Murray, the tennis coach, Jose Mourinho, the Chelsea Premier League manager, Anna Mays, the England International Women's Netball coach, and good old Sam Riley, I spelled your name wrong, please forgive me, college football coach. So, for Julie Murray, the role as a manager is not very important for her because she's all about developing the athletes and training them to become better players, which is why I put trainer first, as she wants to help develop other players become better athletes. So yes, that also means she would be a good educator to help improve their knowledge of the sport and help them become better performers. And then also she needs to be a good role model, because as she is the mother of Andy Murray, the famous tennis player, the first British tennis player to win Wimbledon in nearly 70 odd years, I believe. So she will need to conduct herself well, or otherwise she could be possibly attacked by the media and made to look bad. So as Jose Mourinho, the Chelsea manager, as in the name, his main thing is managing, so he would have to. He's all about picking the best teams and the best tactics to help win and increase the chances of the team successful. Let's make sense. Success. So, and it has been noted by multiple football pundits that he's a very good tactician and is one of the best managers in the world. So, because he is in a high-profile environment, he needs to be a good role model, set a good example for his players and all the fans that may admire him. So third, I put him as trainer, as he will still need to train. He maybe not the skills himself, but he needs to train the team into using his style of play and tactics, so that they understand what they need to do when it comes to game day to increase the chances of team success. So I put educator last for Jose Mourinho, because players who will already have that good knowledge of the sport, because they are getting paid a good hefty amount of money to be playing for that football team. So he wouldn't have to educate them, he would just have to maybe refine them a little bit, but that may be a bit hard at his level due to them having their own sort of style of play, and you can't say it hasn't worked because they're getting paid good money to do so. So Anna Mays, being a netball coach, she is also a number one at manager, because she needs to help decide tactics for the team to make sure to give them the best chances of success. She also needs to be a good role model, as she is the international coach, so all netball fans around the country will be looking up to her. So she needs to make sure she sets a good example to inspire and motivate them. So I also put trainer third, just like Jose Mourinho, because she still needs to train the tactics into the team to make sure that they have a good chance of success when performing. And again, educator is last, just like Jose Mourinho, because at an international elite level, all the players will already have a good knowledge of the sport, so will be ready to go in that sort of situation. So moving on to Sam Riley, a college football coach, I put him actually number one for educator instead. Unlike Anna May, Jose Mourinho, because as a college, he will just be it is his job. He is there, employed to educate the students / athletes. So he wants to educate them in their footballing ability to make sure they understand what they are doing and how they're doing it to make sure they become better all-round football players. So also I put him second for role model, because as he is in that teaching environment, he needs to set a good example to his players to make sure that they are conducting themselves well in the sporting environment. So I put trainer for free, as he wants to he still wants to improve the skills of his athletes to help them get results, because everyone loves winning. And then unlike Judy Murray, I put first for trainer, because he will be more focused on the educating element than the actual developing the skills themselves, even though the two will be linked. And I put him last, the manager, because at the end of the day, he is there to help them become better. So even though he wouldn't mind, I'm sure you won't, Sam, you won't mind getting results. but I'm sure you would agree that you still want us to help them improve as players more than get results, even though it would be pretty damn nice to do so, I know so. And like Jose Mourinho, who is there, and Animes, who are only there, and are mainly there to get results for the team. Skills of a coach. Types of skills include communication, analysis, and organisation. A coach needs to have good communication skills during their coaching sessions so that the athlete can understand and gain the most out of what the coach is trying to teach them, such as a technique of a skill in their sport. Because if they didn't have good communication skills, then the athlete wouldn't understand properly how to execute the technique, so will develop and learn an ineffective technique which won't be how it should be performed, so won't be as good as someone who can perform the skill properly. To have good communication, a coach needs to have a good range of verbal and non-verbal language. Be clear and precise in what they are saying to give the athlete the best chance of hearing and understanding what they are saying, and to be confident while doing it so the athletes know what they are on about, so we'll listen to what they are saying. To be able to analyse a performance, a coach must have knowledge of the technical skills of the sport so they know what they are actually looking for and can tell whether they are being performed properly during a game, and if anything needs changing or attending to help increase the chances of success. Also, they will need knowledge on how to actually analyse the skills of themselves so they can actually use the data to help see where the team is going wrong, on what to do to improve their performance and increase the chances of success. Analysis is needed because it allows data to be collected and to be used to see where the team is doing good in during the game, and where they are not doing not so good in, and can be used to devise a game plan in which to increase the chances of success for the team. To be organised, a coach must be well prepared for the sessions. This means having everything planned for and ready before the session. Also, the coach should be punctual to the session, arriving in good time before the session starts to set up all the activities that are going to be completed during the session before it starts, so the whole session can be spent doing something and developing the athlete's knowledge and ability in the sport. The coach needs to be organised because it sets a good example to the athletes, so they may also be organised outside of the sport and would be beneficial for them as well. Also, it would reduce the coach's stress levels, as they wouldn't be rushing around frantically to set up the sessions with the athletes looking at them on what to do when they weren't ready. So now my 4 managers is Alan Pardew, the Newcastle United football manager in the Barclays Premier League; Andy Flower, the ex-England international cricket coach; Judy Murray, the tennis coach / trainer; and then here you are again, Sam, but I believe I spelled your last name correctly this time, the college football coach. So for Andy Flower and Judy Murray, I put communication at the top of the list because they need to get across what they are trying to coach and tell the team or athlete what they want them to do and how to improve as performers. And now I put analysis second for Andy Flower. He needs to analyse what the team is doing good or isn't doing very good at, so we can devise a plan on which to help the team improve their performances and increase their chances of success. And I put organisation last for him because as a professional team, he will have other staff members that will be there to assist him and organise the sessions for him, so that everything is already ready for him when he is ready and wants to go. So for Alan Pardew, I put analysis first because as a football coach, there are quite a few technical aspects to it. So an analysis can be quite effective because it can be used to see something the naked eye might not be able to do so, and can be used to back up potential game strategies he could put in place to help his team have a better chance of success. So I put communication second for this, because after the analysis is done, he's going to have to communicate with the team with how he wants them to change their style of play, or how he wants them to play during the match. And if he's not able to communicate that properly, they won't understand him and they won't be able to execute it properly, because they might have interpreted the message he gave them differently to what he wanted to give them, because his communication skills might have been lacking. So even though he had the right game plan due to his analysis, if he wasn't able to get it across to him, then it would be pointless. So for the same reason of Andy Flower, I put organisation last, because he has other coaching staff around him, but he will be able just to tell what he wants to do and how he wants to do it, so his other coaching staff can set it up for him, so it's ready when he's ready to go. So now for Judy Murray, yeah, put her communication first, because she needs to tell them what to do and how they want to do it, and needs to be able to get her message across clearly so they understand it and can improve as athletes. So I put organisation second for her, because she won't have the sort of team behind her such as Andy Flower and Alan Pardew, but she may have a couple of people helping, as she might not be the only coach there. So she still needs to be relatively prepared for the sessions, so that she's not rushing around. And I put analysis last, because as just a coach and not an elite level coach, just probably maybe like a semi-elite recreational sort of coach, she won't need to properly analyse each minute detail. She can just give them through, she can help get her point across through communication, as they don't need to be perfect at the skill, but they still need to be, she still would want them to be good at the skill, but that could be achieved through good communication skills, which is why I rated it for 1. So now I'm moving on to you, Samuel Riley. I put organisation 1, because as you work in a college, you aren't just a football coach, you are also a course lecturer. So you won't just have to be organised for, you won't have the time to organise the sessions properly prior to the training sessions. So we'll have to be proper organised, because you need to be able to fit around all your workload to make sure that everything is done, and that there is a good good substance to your sessions. And then I put communication second for you, because you need to be able to get across to the athletes you are coaching what you want them to do and how you want to do it, and if you didn't have the communication skills to do so, they might interpret what you want to do wrong, or not how you intended them to do so, so they might not be able to do it properly. So you need to be able to clearly get across what you're trying to tell them, so they understand what you're on about. So just like Judy Murray, I put analysis last for you, because even though you want them to improve, you may not have the resources or to properly do this analysis, so it may not be high up on your list, because even though you have Leach Aid and the videos and the stats, you won't have the same level of analysis team that Alan Pardew would have around him at an elite level football club in Newcastle United. So yes, so the differences between you and Alan Pardew is the elite level, non-elite level that you're at, so you have different resources available to you. So instead of having an analysis available to you, you'd have to focus on communication skills to get your point across, to increase the chances of your team being successful. Techniques of a coach. Type of techniques include demonstrations, technical feedback, and fitness testing. Good technical instruction is needed as a coach, because it allows them to make sure that the athlete are executing the skills properly, making them as effective as possible during their performances. This would be beneficial to the athlete, because if they were able to understand the minute details involved in the skill, they will not just be able to do the skill, but they will actually know what they are doing to complete the skill when they are performing it, so we'll have a better chance of the skill being successful. To be able to do this, the coach will need a good knowledge of the techniques themselves, because if they don't know how to do the technique, how are they supposed to teach someone else how to do the skill? The coach would also have to be a good communicator to make sure that the athletes understand what the coach is trying to teach them, and understand what the coach wants them to do to complete the technique / skill effectively, and to have the biggest chance of them learning the skill. Also, the ability to do the technique might be helpful for the coach, as it could be another way of reinforcing what they are trying to teach the athlete, as they might need a visual aid while you are telling them the technical aspects of the skill. So technical feedback is better than a demonstration when the athlete's ability is greater than the coach. This is because if the coach tried to show a skill in which an athlete will be able to perform better when they know how to do the skill, it would result in them learning how to do the skill worse than what their ability would allow them to execute the skill at, as all they have seen is how to do the skill from someone who can only execute the skill at a worse ability than theirs. This is why it would be better for the coach to just tell them how to do the skill and describe the specific technical elements involved in completing the skill, so they can then use that knowledge to complete the skill to the best of their own ability. Also, at an elite level, athletes make the skills their own and add their own technique to it, such as free kicks in football. As if you compare David Beckham's free kick technique to Cristiano Ronaldo's, they are very different, as Beckham uses curl, whereas Ronaldo uses power, yet they both have found success from the dead ball situations. Also, at elite level, they've got to that elite level for a reason, so you wouldn't really want to change their technique anyway, as it has been successful for them, as they have reached a high standard of level where they are actually getting paid to do so. Even though technical feedback is better in that situation, demonstration is better to be used when coaching young athletes, because the athletes may not be able to comprehend the complex terminology used to successfully describe the skill through technical feedback, and it would actually be easier for the athletes to draft the skill through visual demonstrations and mirroring what the coach is doing. Another situation in which technical feedback would actually be better than demonstrations would be in boxing. This is because the trainer wouldn't have enough time to demonstrate what they want the boxer to do in the next round, but can quickly fire off a couple of technical points in how to perform in the next round to increase the chances of success for the boxer.